On to a big CNBC TV18 exclusive then. Rituparna Bhuyan caught up with Shaktikanta at the BRICS Conference in Goa and began by asking him about the agenda for the conference.
We have proposals of discussing on the possibility of setting up a BRICS rating agency. That also is very much on the table, and that will be discussed. The need for a BRICS rating agency has been felt because it's generally felt that international rating agencies, which are primarily based in advanced economies, they have their own independence, they have their own autonomy, and they have good expertise, no doubt about that. But somewhere it is felt that they are perhaps a few steps behind.
Not able to take the realities of emerging economies into account.
That's right. They are a few steps behind in taking the realities, in taking into account the reforms and the structural changes which are happening in emerging economies. So therefore, there is a need to set up a rating agency sponsored by the BRICS countries, but then the rating agency has to be independent, autonomous, and has to maintain arm's length distance from the governments so that it does independent rating, and it's more aligned to the moving realities. You see, we live in a dynamic world. Unless you move close, unless you sort of move step in step, unless you move alongside the emerging economies, alongside the developments in the emerging economies, if you are 5 steps behind, then somewhere you're losing the plot.
Right. Talking about this rating agency, and you've made some valid points on why this rating agency is required. A, where will it be based? And B, we understand that perhaps there will be a new payment, mechanism that will be evolved as far as this rating agency is concerned. Instead of the issuer of bonds, it will be the buyer of bonds or other instruments who will be actually paying this agency to do the rating. Am I correct on?
You see, these are early days. The concepts are being worked out. The detailed plan of action is being drawn up. So these are early days. It will not be proper to sort of say that this will be done or this will not be done. But various options are being looked at. But sum and substance is that it has to be independent, and it has to, maintain arm's length distance from the governments of these countries. And perhaps institutions like the Exim Bank of India and their counterpart in other countries can perhaps, sort of play a key role in developing such a rating agency, so that right from day one, governments are not directly involved in the way this agency would take shape. But then the consensus has to evolve. We have to take into account the views of the other economies, other countries also, which will be represented today.
2 quick questions on the status of the Fiscal, sir. The indirect tax receipts are doing really well. Give us a sense of where do you see the Fiscal going forward?
You see, first thing I want to mention is that at this point of time, I can say that the fiscal deficit target of the current year will be maintained. The 3.5% target will be maintained. The telecom receipts, there are apprehensions, but we are quite confident because we are getting 30,000 crores. And telecom receipts, there are some arrears to be collected. There is the normal license fee also which flows in. And then there are the, the subsequent installment payments of the earlier auctions. So all that comes in. Plus, we have got the additional 15,000 crores which will flow out of the IDS, the Income Declaration Scheme, that will flow in the current year.